Hey guys, SoCal Val here. You are listening to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
Welcome everybody back to another Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast with me, your host Adam Cousins, and of course, it being Dynamite Review Day can only mean one person, Dave Robinson. Hello, how are you?
Hey matey, I'm okay. How are you?
All good, all good. The sun isn't shining today, but we did speak to Jake yesterday, which is a very informative, Jake the Snake Roberts for that matter. It was a very informative conversation and we very much enjoyed it and thank Jake for his time.
Yeah, we spoke to Jake last night. I've just done me a DDP yoga workout, so I'm feeling pumped.
He is
segueing from the Jake story.
Positively paged.
I am, absolutely.
We will get into Dynamite in a second, like we always do, but there is a couple of little tidbits of news to discuss. First, opening the fact that Roosh, and I've got that right, it's not Rush, it's Roosh, has re-signed with AEW, which is all good for AEW, and you're happy with that. I think he cited the fact that family-orientated Tony Khan was, he just had a kid. Now, with Collision being Saturday and with there being a certain ladder match involving an Andrade and the House of Black, are we going to see the return of LFI?
And El Toro Blanco, the white bull. I'm so glad that Roosh is re-signed. I think he's absolutely great. And I'm salivating at LFI match against the House of Black. I think it's going that way. So yeah, if Roosh and Co appear on Dynamite Collision, that wouldn't surprise me at all.
No, me either. It kind of makes sense as it's no DQ and you can guarantee
most. As you say, he'd said, I think Roosh's wife's just had a baby, and Tony Khan's been very concerned about his wife and baby and a little bit more family orientated than what he's dealt with in the past. He had a bit of a falling out as well, didn't he? With was it Triple R, the company he was at? So yeah, a great signing or re-signing for AEW.
Certainly was. And the other bit of news, thanks to Gary Joe, by the way, on the Elite that broke this a little while ago. Scott Garland, who was known as Scotty Too Hottie, was actually at Dynamite last night as a coach and a producer. He could have also been brought in for a tryout, might be there for the next few weeks. What do you make of that one?
Yeah, and he was in the UK recently on a bit of a tour. He's worked in WWE in that role. I don't know if it was in NXT or WWE itself, but he's not new to that role, something that he's done before. So yeah, I'm all for bringing in ex-wrestlers and utilizing their skills and keeping them in the business and improving the on-screen product. So yeah, it'd be interesting to know what match he did produce if he had a bit of a tryout.
Yeah, it would be interesting. We should be able to find out in a day or two. They normally sort of release that information, don't they?
Yeah.
Anyway, Tony Khan listened to us, which was good because you know what I'm going to say next. Dynamite started off with our good friend Orange B defending his the international title against AR Fox. Now the storyline build up to this was he owed Darby Allin a favor. Darby Allin brought AR Fox up. He was training him and all of that stuff, and he asked Orange Cassidy if he could give AR Fox a title match. Last week he said, "Can you give him a title match?" This week he agreed, and they opened up the show in a really good competitive match for me. I've seen a bit of AR. I mean, to be honest, anytime AR Fox on Dynamite, of course I've seen him. This was one of the longest showings that I've seen of him. And I'm getting more and more impressed by AR Fox every time. I knew about him previously because I saw him when he was on Ring of Honor, even when Ring of Honor was still a company as such. It was not part of AEW, and I knew how good he was. But he really impressed me in this one. And once again, Orange finds a way of retaining that title.
Yeah, this was awesome. I mean, AR Fox has been in the business 20 years apparently, and he's helped train a lot of other wrestlers, particularly in like the Lucha style, the flips. But I wasn't too familiar with his work. I'd picked up his name a few times in Wrestle Talk and Inside the Ropes, but prior to AEW acquiring Ring of Honor and then AR Fox ultimately appearing on AEW television, I hadn't seen any of him at all, really. And I've wanted to see more and more of him. And he's been in a few tag matches, he's been in a few trios matches, but I really wanted to see what he could do in a singles match. And as you say, this was the longest one he's had, and for me, the best one he's had. Some innovative moves. We always point out when we see something we haven't seen before. And when he did that flip off the ring post rather than the middle rope, I thought that was really creative and a great little spot. So I enjoyed this, and I quite enjoyed the post match as well.
Yeah, so about to get to that post match. He beat down Orange. And Darby Allin come out and said, like, what you doing? You know, this, I've got you this opportunity. Why are you doing this? It's embarrassing. Setting up something that happens later, I believe.
Yeah, it wasn't the greatest acting job from AR Fox. He did a bit of a heel turn, and then he kind of did I can't believe what I've done, and then a bit of a face-to-face with Darby, and he seemed quite apologetic. And Darby was saying, you know, I'd put my name to you and I'll vouch for you, and you take the defeat like a man. But as you say, that set up something that happens later in the show, so we'll get to it then. We
will get to it. Next part was Jericho's at the back. Don Callis brings out a picture of him and Jericho and Bad News Brown. Now he books a tag match for Dynamite 200. So next week is Dynamite's 200th episode, and it's going to be Chris Jericho and Takeshita. That's good enough, isn't it? I do.
Takeshita, but yeah, you haven't gone back too far.
Gone back too far.
That's a pass.
That's a pass. See, against Sammy Guevara and Daniel Garcia. Here's my take on this.
Go for it.
They're all going to turn on Jericho next week. Takeshita, Garcia, and Guevara and Callis are all going to turn on Jericho next week.
Oh, I like that. And then it's actually Guevara and Garcia that join the family with Takeshita. Oh, yeah, that's great, man. That's excellent little bit of fantasy booking there. I do like that. I'm a bit tired of this in terms of the JAS stuff, and we saw that a little bit later on. I don't know if you were going to mention it, but they did a little backstage bit.
Yeah.
And you kind of, come on, man. When did Hager hand the hat in? Was that 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago?
A couple of weeks ago, yeah.
So for us to kind of, we meant to believe that Jericho and these guys hadn't spoken at all at the last few weeks, and I don't know. I don't like how this is dragging on, but if we do get that payoff next week, I will be more than happy with what they've done with it. I just think they could have got there a little bit quicker.
Yeah, I think it makes sense for the younger ones to join Callis anyway.
Yeah, no, I'd like that.
I think everyone's expecting Jericho to join it, so it'd be great if the swerve did happen, and maybe then that puts Jericho with the elite.
Yeah,
to elite. I don't know. I'm going a bit too far, I suppose, with that bit, but I still think they'll turn on Jericho next week, which will be an interesting, because Jericho hasn't been faced properly for a while, has he?
No, but they were flirting with a Sting match thing though as well, weren't they? So there's a few irons in the fire in terms of Jericho. But yeah, if they do go face turn, which they kind of entertained that idea when he was in Canada, I think. Obviously, it was particularly at the start of his promo in Canada. Yeah. It was very face-like, his mannerisms and some of the things he was saying. So yeah, you've just piqued my interest in something that I wasn't massively interested in, just because, as I say, it's kind of dragged on a bit, and you know, we had the picture being presented to Jericho this week. Yeah,
that just reminded me of Jericho and Kevin Owens.
Yeah, that's it. You're kind of leaning on that a little bit too much, and I suppose for AEW fans that haven't seen that before, then maybe that's a little bit more entertaining for them. But if we get to next week and we get the young lads joining forces with Takeshita, then great. Because I love Don Callis. I love him being an on-screen personality and a heel manager. I like when he joins commentary as well. I think he's good value. So yeah, I'm not against that at all. I suppose the three then could feud with Jericho and, as you say, Young Bucks or whoever it is. Yeah, a lot of good stuff they could segue into.
Now you see, I piqued Dave's interest. Tony Khan, I am available. You just got to slide in my DMs.
Well, from the sound of it, they're in the employing kind of mood at the minute. So you and Scotty too hot, eh? What would your team be?
Oh no, I think he's bald now. So maybe too
Too
bald.
bald.
Too bald. Yeah. That would be that would be the one for sure. Too bald would be the name for me and Scotty Too Hottie. Let's move on sharpishly quickly. The Blackpool Combat Club were out the back, and they were just basically saying that people are going to get hurt in the main event. Standard Combat Club stuff. We cut to the ring. Schiavone is in the ring. Out comes Beethoven or Jack Perry, as we know. I don't like the music.
I liked it a little bit more this week than last week, but I'm still not 100%.
I think they need to change it somewhat. I mean, it went from a catchy dance tune to someone playing the violin or whatever.
Yeah, it hasn't really got that oomph. I think Mikey Ruckus needs to get hold of it and do a little bit of a remix on it and see what he can conjure up.
Yeah, put a bit of electric guitar in there somewhere.
I like that he was in the black and orange, though.
Yes, he did come out black and orange, took the mick out of the fact that he had the FTW title. Taz is sitting in the
He trashed the title as well, didn't he? He said, I said I was going to win a title, but not this one.
Yeah, I didn't want to win this one.
I thought that was great.
He goes on talking, and out comes Jerry Lynn, who called him. What did he call? He didn't call him Jungle Boy or Jack, did he? He called him Jerry, wasn't it?
I think he just called him Jungle.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. And Jack Perry said, "Jungle Boy's no more. It's Jack Perry."
Okay. And I thought he called him Jerry. Funnily enough, Jerry called him Jerry. But basically, he did go on to mention Jerry Lynn that without ECW, Jungle Boy basically wouldn't exist, and Jungle Boy or Jack Perry, and he's going to get his ass kicked one day. And Jack Perry wants to know who's going to do it, and Jerry Lynn accepts. So next week they have a face-off, which is
So I thought at first it was going to be a match, but it looks like it is just a face-off. So I don't mind this. Obviously, everybody knows that Jerry Lynn works backstage in AEW. So for him to start for Jungle Boy or for Jack Perry now to start trashing ECW and insulting the talent that work there, it makes absolute sense for Jerry Lynn to kind of get involved. So ultimately, I hope it doesn't lead to a match and it leads to something else, probably with Hook next week.
Yeah, I think we'll see who they're. And a little promo thing, didn't they, where you're sitting at a station?
Yeah, the belt disappeared and then Hook disappeared.
Yes.
I mean, I don't think that was the greatest of the vignettes that we've seen in the video packages, but they have been doing more and more of these, and trying to help keep stories flowing by using those as well. So I know Twitter hasn't been too complimentary about Dynamite this week, but I thought there was a lot of good that happened. It was by no means the greatest episode, but I thought little things like that were a move in the right direction.
Yeah. The man that Gravity forgot took on Gravity next. Pac took on Gravity. What made me chuckle, Gravity's entrance when he starts walking to the ring like he's on the moon.
He does that as well in the ring. He was doing it, and I haven't watched the whole of the Ring of Honor pay-per-view last week yet. I've watched bits, but I did watch his match with Commander, and he broke out and did that as well. So I kind of knew that was coming. But yeah, I like that as well. And Dido's younger brother as well.
Yes, he is. Quite short, really. This match. Couple of high bits. A couple of lucha stuff that you would expect from Gravity. Ultimately, Pac picks up the win. I think. After the match was okay, but I think after back-to-back defeats, especially when he's just come back, Pac really needed this win.
Oh yeah, and it was short, but it needed to be because we needed to see Pac assert his dominance, and he did. Gravity got some nice moves in, and I really enjoyed when Pac was shouting at him, "Forget me not," which is a play on that Pac used to be called the man that Gravity forgot in WWE. Yeah. That was his moniker. So I enjoyed that, but ultimately we had an avalanche brainbuster and the brutalizer, which Pac held on to for the win. So very bastard-esque from Pac holding on to the brutalizer. But I thought this was fine. It did exactly what it set out to achieve. It introduced Gravity to more a bigger audience, and we got a good win for Pac.
We did indeed. Backstage, this was last week. Renee Young was interviewing MJF and Adam Cole. MJF basically said he was going to hit Cash so hard he spits out CM Punk's jockstrap. Cole wants MJF to know this is about friendship, and he didn't mean anything by picking up the title. MJF basically said that he would give Cole a rematch for the title after they win the tag titles, and then Roderick Strong breaks up the fight. They move to FDR, who had an interview last week, basically saying that Cash basically saying that since everyone's been with MJF, including his fiance, they let him down once they get to know him. And basically, Dax said he's going to beat the SHIT out of them. While they both like Adam, he's going to get beaten as well. Not me, Adam Cole. He's going to get beaten.
I thought these. I mean, we didn't see these last week. They were recorded after Blood and Guts or at Blood and Guts, and then they've aired them this week, which I thought was quite a clever thing to do, rather than ram it all in to last week's show. And like the pacing, it just seemed a little bit better. And I think it's been better since the introduction of Collision. But the Yosemite Sam line from MJF made me laugh. And also when Dax said that he was going to rip Max's eyeballs out, I thought that was quite good as well. So this sets up the tag match nicely.
I did like it when Max also done Dax's voice.
Yeah.
It was pretty good.
I thought this was really entertaining, good stuff. To say it was just a backstage interview segment with Renee that was actually pre-recorded, I was quite entertained by both of these two.
Yeah, I liked them both. Are we still under the impression Cole's turn on MJF, or are they going to win these titles? Or is the fact now that MJF said, once we win these titles, I'm giving you a rematch, is he going to cost them the title so he doesn't give him the rematch?
Oh, yeah, that could be an interesting way they go. For the last week or so, I've been thinking that Roderick Strong was going to be the one to turn on Adam Cole, and they were going to do something with that. But I don't know. Like there's three directions they can go in here. They can do Roderick Strong turns, Adam Cole turns, or Max turns, or maybe two of the three. So I think they've played this story out really, really well. I'm not sure if it was even the original story to begin with, but it was just so popular and it caught on. They were kind of forced to do more with it. I'm not sure. It might have been the plan all along, but it certainly seems to me that kind of this has grown better and better as the weeks have gone on, or kind of organically. So we'll see, but it's not going to be a long-term thing, and I'll be very, very surprised if they win the belts. I can't see that happening.
Find out on Saturday. Collision. Just going back to me and Scotty Too Hotty, do you know the shirts you can get now? The Audi shirts, you can get them that says Baldy. We've already got our merch.
There you go.
There we go.
You're thinking about marketing your team already.
Me and Scotty Too Bald are.
Tony, just drop us an email. And we can sort this out.
Come into a Dynamite near you soon.
We'll negotiate the deal.
Who's going to be Rikishi out of this?
Yeah, I better not insult anybody. I'll do it. I've got some yellow sunglasses somewhere from the Attitude Era.
There you
I'll
go.
dust them off.
We got Dave. He can be Rikishi. Darby Allin, Swerve Strickland. We've had this a couple of times, and it never fails to impress me. It never fails not to impress me. Sorry.
So it's always a good little confrontation, isn't it?
Yeah, I did like the Death Valley driver off the top rope to the apron.
Yeah, I've noted that one down, and also the stunner they did off the top rope as well. Yeah. I know the stunner is massively, massively overused. It seemed like when Stone Cold stopped using, like when Stone Cold went out of it for a number of years, we didn't see too much stunner activity, and we saw plenty of RKOs and diamond cutter type moves. But there's a lot of guys, particularly in AEW, doing a lot of stunners, and obviously Kevin Owens resurrected it in WWE as well. Yeah. But I thought that one was particularly impressive, dropping off the top rope into it. There was an interesting little fact in this match as well, that every time Darby Allin had beat Swerve on AEW TV, it was with the Last Supper, which Swerve actually kicked out of this week. And Darby also kicked out of the Swerve Stomp.
He did.
Kicking out of finishes isn't my is a bit of a gripe of mine. But I thought the fact about the first time that Swerve had kicked out of the Last Supper was quite interesting.
Yes, he did. And when Darby was trying to get into the ring after this move, there's a hooded guy that pulls him back out, throws him into the ring post, right in where Swerve hits the JML driver, and that's it. Swerve picks up a win. I think that's the first time he's maybe beaten Darby. I don't know, you'll know that. But
I think it is, yeah. I think, as I say, every other time it's finished with that Last Supper.
Yeah. Exactly that. So at the end of that, the as per the start of the show, the hooded man is revealed to be AR Fox, who attacked Darby. Nick Wayne tries to make the save, but he takes a skateboard to the back. And then the face from Fox, and Prince Nana gives AR Fox an embassy shirt, which he accepts. So AR Fox is now a member of the embassy. So he's maybe going for, wasn't he in a group? Was he with Top Flight before a couple of times?
He was in the trios with Top Flight, yeah. I don't think it was like an official team as such. It was just Top Flight and AR Fox. Obviously, Dante is out injured at the minute, and Darius is now tagging with Action Andretti. Yeah. So, yeah, surplus to requirements really in that world. But I'm so glad that he's now going to be featured more prominently as a member of the embassy. And Swerve and AR Fox against Darby and Nick Wayne is a match that I want to see. So again, I was a big fan of this. You know, I think AR Fox is a talented. I mean, whether he can talk much on the microphone, we don't know. But as is with Swerve and Nana and Brian Cage, he doesn't really need to. So just put him in great matches. And again, another good segment for me. Another one that made total sense.
Yep. They caught up with Jericho. Basically, all the other members of JAS basically said they can't give him 100% till I know where he stands. So we're not going to go talk about any further than that. Okay, now we've had some quite good bits of AEW, and we move on to the next bit, which was Taya Valkyrie and Britt Baker. I'm going to ask you a question, Dave, about this, and it's probably more like a two-prong question. I don't mean this derogatory to Britt either. Number one, is Britt Baker overrated, or is it just this face turn hasn't worked?
I think she's a much better heel in terms of character. I think she's pretty good in the ring as well. I don't really think that the problem with this match was too much with Britt. I think it was just a real clash of stuff. Sometimes you get a match and two wrestlers just don't seem to gel. And this for me was an example of it. It was. I know you got another question, but just in regards to this match, it seemed very kind of slow and choreographed, and a lot of waiting around, and a really unfortunate spot at the start where Britt was in a bit of a wheelbarrow, which is similar to kind of position where Taya hits the road to Valhalla. Yeah, and I don't know what the confusion was, but kind of Britt went down as if she was going to sell the finisher. And Taya went down and landed on a bum with her legs out in the same position, finishes that move in, but it wasn't the road to Valhalla. No. So it was a bit strange. I don't like to say botch, but something obviously went wrong there. The match improved a little bit as it went on. But yeah, this wasn't the greatest offering. And I think this will probably be the thing that the Twitter and the IWC will talk about most in terms of this week's episode of Dynamite, which is a shame for me because there was some good stuff on this week. It was, as I said earlier, not my favourite episode. No. They've kind of set the bar very high for themselves in terms of past episodes of Dynamite, not so much recently, but in the past. So to get a 10 out of 10 Dynamite, it's going to have to go some. But yeah, this was unfortunate.
Yeah, they definitely felt off. The lockjaw was, I mean, Jesus, she literally put her hand there and she tapped. I didn't. Yeah. Well, I wasn't, because normally you got to, try and get out of the lockjaw or any submission you try and reach, or you she was like, that's it. I'm not even going to let you, I don't know.
Yeah. I don't really like to be critical of wrestlers. But Taya Valkyrie has shown at times flashes of what she can do, but unfortunately for her, I think they've kind of half-heartedly turned at or kept her as a face. She's like in between. You wouldn't say she is a definite heel. So I think her booking has been a little bit confusing at times. I would rather them have really doubled down with her and made her a little bit more heelish and have her kind of using like heel tactics and cheating a little bit more, rather than kind of wrestling a fairly straight match and just trying to do it all with body language and a face. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Total sense. I didn't like this at all, to be quite
fair. Yeah, I've been as kind as I
And
can.
the sign at the end was more entertaining than the match, which was book women's wrestling properly or something along those lines.
Yeah, this is the thing. We've spoke about it, and we talk about Impact doing such a phenomenal job with their knockouts division. For what I've said about Taya, and it's been a little bit hit and miss. She's a good, experienced wrestler, so I don't think she's been helped at times. Britt Baker, phenomenal. We've seen in the past what she's done with Thunder Rosa and in other, storylines, and when she was the champion. So the talent's there. But yet again, another week goes by where the women aren't utilised to their full potential, and we got really nothing coming off the back of it now. Britt picked up the win, and is that it? Or it kind of, as you say, is a very quick tap, which again didn't make a lot of not great this in terms of the match, unfortunately, but the booking, the segment, and the story aspect.
Yep. They hyped up Rampage a little bit. So you had a Royal Rumble last week. You've got a tag team battle royal this week. I know who wins, so I've already read up. So I'm not going to tell you.
And I'm hoping, and I'm not going to look, but I'm hoping it's Big Bill and Brian Cage, because I was glad to see they put that team back together off the back of the blind eliminator tag tournament. I thought that was quite an interesting dynamic. So that's my prediction, but we'll see whether it comes to.
We'll see on Rampage. Yeah, you'll have to watch it. Also booked was Hikaru Shida and Nyla Rose, bit of a throwback to pandemic era AEW. On that one. There was another match announced as well, but I can't remember what it was. No, obviously announced for Collision. We already knew the ladder match. There's another trios match, isn't there? There's Bullet Club Gold minus Jay White, wasn't there? That's wrestling this week.
Yeah. Yes, I can't think who they're up against. So but it is the Guns and Juice.
So it should be an interesting Collision. Rampage looks it's quite good actually. So I don't tend to watch Rampage just because it's not like, well, I can watch Rampage anytime I want. Well, anytime once he's aired, I can watch it if I want to. But anyway, we move on to the main event, which was the Blackpool Combat Club. Best friends, Trent and Chuck, and Lucha Brothers, who I haven't seen in a while. So it was nice to see. I like the Lucha Brothers. Nice to see them again. I kind of got the storyline involving them because it was about Orange Cassidy, wasn't it? That was
So you asked me on the Collision review as to where this match came from, and I didn't know, but it transpires they did set this up on Ring of Honor.
Gotcha.
At the pay-per-view. Now that is kind of, you get that to a degree, because if you're Tony Khan and you've got Ring of Honor and you've got all these guys at your disposal, it's quite a normal thing to do to kind of continue storylines across programming. The problem is for the AEW guys that don't watch Ring of Honor and haven't paid the $20 for the pay-per-view last week. So they did a little bit of a recap, but not a great deal. And I think that is where this angle struggled a bit. It wasn't so much the match. It was just, it seemed a little bit thrown together if you didn't have the backstory. So you could blame AEW for that and not doing more on Collision or Rampage to hype towards this. Or you could blame us for not watching every single bit of content out there, but I think we watch enough personally. So there's two ways you could argue with that.
You could. Listen, the match, it was actually quite a good match, to be fair. Right near the end. Interestingly enough, the Lucha Brothers picked up the win. I think it was a Fear Factor, wasn't it? By
Fear Factor. So Trent got a visual pin, but who he was pinning wasn't the legal man.
Yeah, it was Claudio, wasn't it? He was
Claudio, yeah. Which was a nice little touch because I expected Best Friends to be losing. I thought Chuck Taylor would be eating the pin. Glad that he wasn't, because that seems to be his role at times. And I think Best Friends, I think Best Friends are better than that as well. Another team that we're hearing, or there's a rumor of Santana and Ortiz perhaps making a comeback soon, and them alongside Best Friends, they had a great tag match, and they're both teams that I would like to see in the tag team picture. But the Lucha Brother picked up the win with the Fear Factor, which, are they still Ring of Honor champions? Did they retain last week?
Yeah, I don't think they lost him. I don't recall.
Yeah. So that was when they set up a triple a match next week, then triple threat next week.
Yes, no holds barred. Moxley, Penta, and Trent next Wednesday's. I'm not quite sure what to make of that one.
I suspect that the fact that Lucha Brothers won here, Penta loses that next week, and Mox picks up the win. I did like the bits on commentary where they said about the BCC have lost 2 matches back to back, but obviously feeling the effects of blood and guts last week. I thought that was a nice little side note.
Kept them strong, wasn't it? As I say,
yeah, protects them to a degree.
That was Dynamite. So Andy, our illustrious co-host, absolutely hated Dynamite this week. He said he can't even give it a score of 0.
Yeah, again, not the best episode, but I was kind of surprised to read those messages. I don't know what he hated so much other than perhaps the women's match and the JAS stuff.
Everything, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I thought the matches were okay. If they were pay-per-view matches, you want a bit more, you'd want them a bit longer for one. And, like the Pac match was quite quick, but for me, for a 2-hour show, when you take out adverts, you've got about an hour and a half of action. I thought there was plenty of that this week, so I'll go 7 out of 10.
I was literally going to drop it a little bit lower, 6.5 for me, just because wasn't key up. That women's match really let it down, and it went on too long. We always say give the women time. You didn't need to give this third time.
No, as I say, we didn't like the setup from last week. It just kind of randomly, Taya comes on the mic and says, "I want to face Britt Baker." It's a bit lazy. You could do more with that. So, and as I say, because that heel and face dynamics that we've mentioned a couple of times lately just weren't. We know Britt's a face, but we don't really know what we're getting from Taya at the minute in terms of a character. It was always going to struggle. But I don't think any of the other women in the same position could have kind of salvaged it as talented as they are. So they need a little bit of, hopefully Scotty Too Hot wasn't the match he produced this week. And if he does go in, I think he did used to work with the women's division. So maybe he can get involved with this and just get some better creative and set some stories up and pay him off with some good matches that make sense.
Yeah, where are the Outcasts? There's no storyline. I think
they haven't mentioned them. I think they've set up a match with Tony Storm, haven't they? Is that Shida?
Shida.
Yeah.
I suppose if she beats Nyla Rose, which she probably expected.
I suppose they can't mention every week where everybody is, but they've gone from being very prominent and on every week to just disappearing.
Yeah. The other concern. Next week, Dynamite's 200, which is good, but we're moving 3 weeks to All In, and we've got nothing at the minute.
No.
Now, I'm getting more and more concerned that this is going to be a throwaway now. I think that maybe unless something happens on Collision, something could happen on Collision, and it could change the course of everything. This feels like to me that we're getting to a point of where, do you remember before Backlash, WWE, they had like one match in there, and the pay-per-view was actually really good, but they had like one match announced with like a week to go, and all of a sudden these flurry of matches.
Yeah.
Announced. I would have thought personally, and this is taking what some of these AEW fans have also said on socials, that they would have made something out. They would have had the main event kind of already announced by now, and things because we don't know where anything's going.
No, I think that could hinge on what happens in that tag match. I'm hopeful that at least one of the big matches will come off the back of that, because obviously the tag titles and the world title are tied up in the same story until Saturday. I think we're going to get Pac against Orange Cassidy for the international title. That's something that I could absolutely see being announced, and it would make a lot of sense, right? Because I think Orange beat Pac for the title when it was the All Atlantic.
All Atlantic, yes, that was it.
So I can see that one being made. But you're right, we're getting a little bit close there. And I would like at least 1 or 2 matches, or at least if there's going to be a ladder match or something of that ilk, if we got a couple of the competitors that were going to be in it, rather than just get to the week of the show and they say, oh, there's also going to be, a ladder match with these 6 guys in.
Yeah.
A lot of plates to spin, and you can see why they're recruiting in terms of creatively and in terms of producers. So hopefully everything will be in place within the next few weeks, and they'll have a good card set for not only All In, but All Out the following Sunday.
This is the big thing, isn't it? Now they've got 2 pay-per-views in a week. So this is going to be really interesting. I thought it was going to start yesterday on Dynamite because Excalibur was like, we're on the road to All In. And I was like, here we go. We're going to start getting something now.
Yeah.
To not have anything with 3 weeks to go is a concern for me because it's, they've sold 79,000 tickets without a match.
Yeah.
If you announced, Will Ospreay Omega for the IWGP title, there's another 5,000 tickets gone.
Yeah, that's another match that I think we will get. But again, no Elite this week, and they're Dynamite guys. So that's not to say they can't appear on Collision.
Colliders this week.
Yeah, they might be, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I doubt it. I doubt they'll be anywhere near that show.
Yeah,
so 3 weeks to go, a little bit concerning. Well, it will be 3 weeks. It's just gone 4 weeks. It will be 3 weeks by the time.
I mean, you could absolutely see them setting up some matches with the BCC and the Elite, or some of the stories that have been playing out, like the Jericho stuff as well. That could lead to a match or a couple of matches. So there is. I don't think some of the matches would come from nowhere in terms of the story. But yeah, I'm with you. I would have liked to have seen at least 1 or 2 matches. Because we're impatient, right? We want to know what the matches are going to be, so we can start looking forward to them. But
so sorry, Dave, to interrupt. Just some breaking news, and it doesn't concern AEW. So apologies for this. Impact Wrestling have announced, along with special guest Grado, a tour of the United Kingdom for 3 nights, October the 26th to 28th. I believe that's the same week WWE are coming over. They're going to be in Glasgow. They're going to be in the Walker Dome in Newcastle and in HMV Empire at Coventry.
Oh, Coventry's good for me.
Coventry's not far from you, David.
Not great for you guys, for London.
Well,
guys,
to be fair, we do get a lot. So
yeah, so you've had your share this year with All In and Money in the Bank.
Yeah, we've had enough. I mean, to be fair, but obviously this has literally just been tweeted as we've been finishing up. So we always apologise that we are going for an AEW, but when a breaking news like that happens, we have to share it.
We'll talk about that at length on Friday when we pick up Impact.
We will talk about that length tomorrow when we pick up Impact.
Tomorrow,
yes. Very much looking forward to it. We have a lot to talk about now with this. With this just been announced, it's exciting for us. So again, apologies that we've segued from AEW. But yes, hopefully a better Dynamite next week. It is Dynamite 200 next week. We have got Collision before that, which has generally been the best show, more so. Well, maybe other than Dynamite last week, in terms of match quality and as you say, the difference and the look and feel and stuff like that. So
yeah,
very, very good. So Dynamite for me indifferent. You didn't mind it. Andy absolutely hated it. So Andy gave it a 0. I gave it a 6.5, and Dave gave it a 7. We will be back, as Dave has said, tomorrow to cover more of this Impact Wrestling story, to review Impact Wrestling. We've got a top 10 tomorrow. Top 10 heel turns, Dave. Are you ready to lose your job?
Oh, come on, man. Andy gave Michael Cole the #1 commentator of all time. All time, Michael Cole. Come on. I think that's a P45 right there.
Yeah. So we're gonna give the.
He can't really give himself one, though, can he?
Well, it's like it was like that time that Vince McMahon got sacked on Raw, wasn't it? When Triple H come and done the dirty on him. So
yeah,
do that on the show. But guys, this has been the AEW Dynamite review show with a bit of sidetrack to Impact Wrestling. I have been your host, Adam Cousins, and of course, I was with Dave Robinson.
I will bid you adieu.
Oh yes.
Goodbye and good night.
Bang. Stay safe and buckle down.